Alright, so we're going to be basically designing a razor. This is a very quick, simple tutorial. You already have the DWG drawing with the layers in addition to the actual drawing. Probably can't figure out how this works together at the moment, but once you see me lofting, it should not be a problem. You want to be in not drafting annotation. If you have that set up, make sure you change it to 3D modeling, because that's what we should be working on always in this class. In addition to that, what we want to do is go in our home tab, and we're going to use the loft command, which is right under the extrude. So we go loft. It's going to ask us to select cross sections in lofting order. So it depends on how you want to loft it. If there's more than two, you probably want it to place it in order. So you select one to the second to the third. If it's only two, like here, it's only two. Actually, there's three here. So we got the third one here. We'll make it simple and very fast. We start from the back, or you can start from the front. You select the first one. You select the second one, which you might have to rotate to consider which one's the second one. The smaller one is the second. And finally, the third. Then we actually take P for path, where you select path. And our path is... what the... Let me try that again. Loft, I select the back portion first, then this one, and then finally the third one. It disappears the part because it doesn't know how to do that. It's alright. We're still gonna type in enter or space, and we type in P for path, and we select the path. And that creates our handle. Now, after creating the handle, we're going to create the second part, which is this part here. It's a simple design. Actually, it could have been just extruded out to this, but we're going to use loft instead. The only problem is you can see that this is a two-piece part or line. It's not a polyline, so we need to convert that into a polyline. Your two options for creating it into a polyline would be using P-edit, or what you can do is do a region. I recommend the region because it is very simple and quick. So we go into draw. Under draw, there is a region command. It's right here, region. We select the two lines, so the arc and the line, and we click enter, and it creates a shaded area. We can do that for both, giving us our polyline. One option is the simple option of extruding the part based onto the distance of the other part. So by snapping onto it, it figures out the distance. The other way would be a loft, but we might not need to use that. Loft, you select that to that, and you click enter to accept it. The nice thing about loft is you can adjust these surfaces later on. This is actually a surface. That's creating the handle. Now, if you wanted to make it a little bit different and creative, that's also acceptable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my handle. I have del objects set at 0, or actually at 1, so I don't remove anything. But if you, in case you did remove it, you can open up the file once more, or you can undo until you get to that same exact location. So let's just say if I opened up the file once more, I gotta save this first. Oops, file, save as, razor 1, save. And I'm gonna open up that file once more. Where did it go? There we go. So I started from scratch, and what I want to do is add additional loft surface, or a drawing of the shape, so I can adjust the shape from what we had previously. I lost it here. So I'm going to do it one quick step here so I have a copy of it. So I have a copy of this. I'm going to do that loft once more with the path. So that's my first handle. My second handle, if I keep on making copies of this, I can play around and decide what I want to use would be, let's say, a completely different shape. I'm going to use a polygon or inscribed. I'm going to do something like that, and I got to rotate it around using the rotate gizmo. So it rotates based on the path of my handle, and I can center it, or I don't have to center it. But the problem with this is trying to get the center of the hexagon. If you can't get that, all you really need to do is just draw a line as a reference, and then the midpoint of that line would be the center of the hexagon. So there's my new handle kind design, where it's going to be lofted again from the back to that new shape, to a small shape, to the big ellipse. I click enter, type in P for path, or select path, and I create my path. So now you can see the difference in shape of my actual handle. Now you can play around with that and do it any way you please. You can additionally add different paths to this. So let's say I had I'm going to create I'm using these lines as references so I can draw a line right underneath, where I'm going to use a spline based on the same intersection point. Oops, I missed that. Clicked escape by accident. So that's my new shape. I mean, another additional path that I'm going to be using for the circle. The only problem with path is that they need to actually be part of quadrants of the circle, so you make sure you have that active and moved. Oh no, like for some, okay, let's see here. I gotta change my UCX so that I can play around and create the quadrants so I can snap onto them. So the path does not have to be exactly on the part or selected to the part. The actual guides do have to be. So you have to keep that in mind when you're creating a part based on a path or based on a guide. So that didn't snap into the middle. You can just adjust that here. So I have something like that, and I'm going to use the loft command once more. Select the back, select the second, select the third, enter G for guides, because I have two guides now, this one and this one. It's not gonna, let's see here, that is a little off. That should be fine. Let's try that once more. There's always a trick with playing with loft and guides. That's why I don't like using it too much. Select entities. Okay, we'll go back to that path. Might be because of the shapes. I gotta figure out what's going on. But for this also, we can also place a text into it. I'm not sure if you guys learned this before, how to do this, but I'm going to teach you that. It's very simple. What you want to do is make sure you are working on the X and Y coordinate system. So right now I have it on, if I'm looking upwards, it's on Z and Y. That is not what I want. I want X and Y to be facing the top of the razor, like so. So if I'm looking from the top, and I've got the X and Y as shown. From there we go into annotate. I'm sorry, I'm telling you guys what I did. Annotate, I do multi-text. I draw a window out for where the text is going to be placed, and I can type something in. The thing we need to do is adjust the size based on our part, but we don't have to worry about that too much because we can do the scaling up later. So we're going to leave that as is. That's not a big deal. The most important factor is if we want to add or subtract a text from the razor, what we want to do is change the style. So there's not too many styles here. Normally, the older versions of AutoCAD, you can edit the text style here, but now it no longer gives you that option. So what you have to do instead is you just escape. The text is being placed still, that's right. And we hit the arrow for the text style. This is where we set a new text style. And this one will go called a subtract. And we're going to change it from the TXT SHX to a Swiss 721 BLK BT or something similar to that. Any of these will work. As you can see, the text is in the preview shows a more bold text. The reason we want that is because it gives us double lines. So any of these Swiss 721s will work. Don't worry too much about the height because that all depends on your drawing. So we apply that and we close it. We get back into our text. You can select the text that you created and we can just edit the style to our subtract style as long as you select the whole text. Subtract, and then we can scale it up. That's way too big, so I am reducing it based on my drawing. And you can move it around so you can view it to see if that's close enough or you want it smaller or bigger. You scale it by either moving your mouse with a line, which is sometimes hard to do, or you scale it by typing a percentage. By doing 0.5, you have a 50% sizing of the text. You do 0.25, it's 25%, and so forth. So here's my text. I believe this is the right size. Well, actually, I'm going to go, if you want to go bigger, if you want too small, you can also type in a larger number more than 1, because 1 is 100%, so 110, 1.10 will be 110%. There we go. Once you have your text completed, what you need to do is a special step. It's in actually Express Tools, and it's called Explode Text. Now, who can find me my Explode Text? Anybody? So, for you guys that don't know where it is, it's under Modify Text, and it's Explode. You select the text you want to explode, and you click Enter. All of a sudden, the text disappears. Don't worry about it. As long as you're in the active layer, it's still there somewhere. So all I have to do is zoom out. Oh, there it is. I found it. Now this text may be too big because it's based on how it exploded. Yeah, it came out very big. So again, I have to scale it down. And you guys know how to scale because I just spoke about that. I'm going to do 0.25. That's still too big. Then do another 0.25. And I'm happy with that. Once you're happy with that, you can either move the text into position of where you want it to be subtracted from the part, or you can extrude it out, which is what I'm going to do right now. Doesn't matter how high I extrude it out, as long as it's going to be a subtract. If I'm adding material, then it's a whole different story. Once I have that, I'm going to select a point somewhere in the text where I can move it at the center. Oh man, not too many centers to choose from here. There we go. And center of that circle. And I'm just going to move it down with my move gizmo. So from rotate, I change it into move. Select the red line, or the red axis, and I move it over. Now my computer is a little slow here, so be careful when you guys do this, or save your work before you decide to remove a text from your razor. Once we have it placed at the bottom here, we're going to move it back up across so it fully fully goes through the actual part that I'm subtracting from. So I'm happy with the positioning. I think this is right, and I'm going to move forward with just subtracting the part. I use the subtract command, I select the razor hand, and then I select the razor the text I'm removing, and I click enter or space. This is another step that your computer may crash because it takes a lot of power to figure out how to subtract all that text. Now, as you can see, the text, it may not be perfect because some of the letters will be lost. I should have edited that before I did the subtract, but since I didn't, I'm going to miss this part here and this A here. Now at this moment, and this A here. The moment, right now it's actually one solid piece, even though this is a separate piece in thin air. To remove those parts, what you want to use is the separate command. So under your home tab, separate, you select the part you would like to separate, click enter, and then it separates the pieces that are not connected into separate solid pieces where you can delete them. Because if you actually made this, those pieces would fall out anyways. I could have made the B a little bit better, but that's alright. So that is my little razor here. I'm gonna, hopefully everybody got that. I'll walk around to make sure. Oh, so that concludes the razor with the basic lofting. I'll go back into working with the guides later on, so we can get that all straightened out. But yeah.